Since the start of the pandemic, American billionaires have been cleaning up. As more than 50 million Americans filed for unemployment insurance, billionaires became $637 billion richer. Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg's wealth has ballooned 59%. Amazon's Jeff Bezos's 39%. Walmart's Walton family has added $25 billion.
They're not serving their full menu at the restaurant? Okay, no, we're not going then. Listen, book me direct. I'm not taking a layover. The Sky Club isn't even open. There are leaves covering our pool deck right now, but the cleaning service won't come out because they said someone in their company got corona. It's like, why would that affect me? I never talked to him. My wife...
I started Facebook, I run it, and I'm responsible for what happens. Oh, it feels great.
This is Democracy Now!, the Quarantine Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. As the COVID-19 pandemic keeps many of us sheltering at home and shopping online, the online giant Amazon said Monday it'll hire 100,000 more workers to meet growing demand. Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos has made an extraordinary amount of money during the crisis. He saw his personal wealth increase by $48 billion between just March and June alone. He's now the first person in the world to be worth $200 billion. Bezos has made so much, in fact, that Oxfam estimates he could give all 876,000 Amazon employees a one-time $105,000 bonus and still come away with as much money as he had before the pandemic. This comes as a new report documents how Amazon set prices for essential products during the crisis at levels that would violate price gouging laws in many states.
Big drug company CEOs and their major investors are doing nicely too. Since the start of the pandemic, Big Pharma has raised prices on over 250 prescription drugs, 61 of which are being used to treat COVID-19. Apologists say this is the free market responding to supply and demand. The barons of big tech and big pharma merely providing what consumers desperately need during the pandemic. But the market also operates under laws that ban profiteering, price gouging, and monopolizing, and that tax excess profits in wartime. Where did these laws go?
Public Citizen found Amazon marked up some products by as much as 1,000%. For example, disposable face masks sold for $40 instead of $4. Prices shot up amidst shortages for pandemic-related supplies in February and March and are still high. This is New York Governor Andrew Cuomo announcing in early March that the state had started using prisoner labor to make hand sanitizer.
Because you can't get it on the market. And when you get it, it's very, very expensive. Also, to Purell and Mr. Amazon and Mr. eBay, if you continue the price gouging, we will introduce our product, which is superior to your product, and you don't even have the floral bouquet. So stop price gouging.
For more
Wrote about Matt Colvin stockpiling goods amid the coronavirus outbreak. Channel 3's Hunter Hoagland talked to Matt, who bought nearly 18,000 bottles of hand sanitizer, while many are still searching to find even one. For Matt Colvin, a pandemic meant an opportunity.
For Matt Colvin, a pandemic meant an opportunity.
It went to 0 to 60 really fast.
After the first COVID-19 death in the United States, Colvin went state to state clearing out sanitizer shelves. He now sits with 18,000 unused bottles in his home and storage unit, while people in the Tennessee Valley struggle to find one.
The bulk of it was purchased with just driving around to retail stores in the Chattanooga area.
Colvin bought the sanitizer with the intention of selling them for profit on Amazon before they took his listings down. Now, feeling the same panic as many others.
Oh crap is the PG way to say it.
Though he would not discuss on camera the exact prices he sold the sanitizer for, he told the New York Times in a recent interview that some items were listed at $70 a bottle.
The pricing on Amazon was definitely higher than retail.
Stating in a shirt that says "Family Man, Family Business," he says he never anticipated the struggle other families would go through because of a shortage. Would you say you're sorry?
Sorry for purchasing, sorry for buying all of this product. No, I don't think that I would.
After receiving backlash online, Colvin says he's making plans to donate the rest of the sanitizer.
With business, there's wins and there's losses.
Listen, I got us a reservation for 7:30, but they said the valet was closed. Yeah, should we just cancel? I mean, I have already moved my children to a different private school because of this pandemic. If you threaten lacrosse season, I will do it again. The dry cleaner won't pick up anymore? Since when? People are getting desperate. Listen, we rich people, we get it. Last week, my wife got caught shopping at Nordstrom.
Moderna, based in Cambridge, Massachusetts, has never brought a vaccine to market, but company insiders have sold some $248 million of shares, most of them after the company was selected in April to receive Trump funding. Incidentally, Moderna plans to sell its vaccine for profit, although taxpayers have footed its research and development.
Jeff Bezos made $11.5 million every hour of the pandemic, and yet he shared almost none of it with warehouse workers.
It ain't fair to us working like we working and got him in this position he in, and he don't care about us and want to pay us.
Jeff Bezos has a few tricks up his sleeve when it comes to success, like getting 8 hours of sleep, spending time with his family, and focusing on work-life harmony. Is this how you become a billionaire? Bezos' always changing net worth is hovering around $190 billion at the time of making this video. Unlike some CEOs, he rejects the concept of overworking, and the science backs him up. He's stepping away as Amazon CEO because this billionaire knows what's best for his productivity and creativity.
Amazon reaped mind-boggling profits during the pandemic, and Jeff Bezos' personal wealth grew by about $70 billion. So even if he gave every U.S. Amazon employee a one-time $100,000 bonus, he'd still be nearly as rich as he was before the crisis. Instead, he stripped workers like Jennifer Bates of the $2 an hour hazard bonus they received near the start of the pandemic.
You see the shoes here? I've gone through them all. None of them work. Doing all that walking at Amazon.
As Jennifer gets ready for a 10-hour shift at Amazon, she worries about the toll it will take on her body.
I hope my legs don't start hurting. So that's really what's going through my mind.
Jennifer says the physical requirements of the job are grueling and unsustainable. She's been to the doctor for tests because her legs and ankles are swelling.
Your body is taking a hit. Once you get off, it's so excruciating walking out.
Some workers told AJ Plus they have to walk for miles during a shift and can't sit down except during official breaks. For Jennifer, it's become so difficult that she wonders how she'll make it through the day.
I have 10 hours. And what goes on in my mind is I try to convince myself that everything's going to be okay today.
And about my grandfather is he did everything himself. You know, he didn't call a vet if one of the animals was sick. He figured out what to do himself. And
so what does it mean? No delegation?
Being resourceful, I think, is the, you know, that you can't, if there's a problem, there's a solution. And of course, as you mature and get into the business world and anything you do on a team, you very quickly realize that it's not about just your own resourcefulness, it's about team resourcefulness and how does that work. And
Meanwhile, does Elon Musk, the second richest person in the world, have a lower tax rate than you? Probably, and there's not much anyone can do about it. Our Robert Frank got the story on how billionaires, and this one in particular, structures his taxes, Robert.
Well, Elon Musk paid no federal income tax in 2018. He paid less than $70,000 in federal income taxes 2 years before that. So how did he do it? Well, the answer is mainly in borrowing. Musk doesn't take a salary from Tesla. He has hit about half the targets in his $50 billion compensation package. That pays out over a decade. But that package is stock options, not cash or income. And when he doesn't want to sell shares if he doesn't have to. So to fund his expenses, he takes loans against his stock. In fact, a lot of stock. SEC filings showed he pledged 92 million shares. Those are now worth about $56 billion. But yeah, as long as you have an asset you can borrow against, that is basically income tax-free income, and you get to deduct the interest payments. So it's great for billionaires who own a lot of stock.
Elon Musk used to own plenty of real estate in California, but in 2020, he went on a huge selling spree, parting ways with his multi-million-dollar properties one by one by one by one. In total, he sold 7 houses. His 8th and only remaining home, a beautiful Bay Area estate that he describes as a special place, hit the market in June. The price? $37.5 million.
Grimes and Elon Musk split. As per a report by Page 6, even though Elon Musk and Grimes have ended their relationship, they are still on good terms with each other. That said, given how much we all admire Elon, it might seem surprising to a few that he has had 3 failed marriages so far. Elon was the one confirming a semi-separate relationship between them. "We are semi-separated," Musk said. "We still have a lot of love and affection for each other and see each other frequently." This is also needed if they want to co-parent their newborn son named X-A12 Musk.
Now to a story that affects tens of millions of American families. An expanded version of the child tax credit is set to expire next month after Congress failed to reach a deal to extend it.
Some 35 million eligible families have been able to get up to $300 a month per child. So the program was paying parents a total of up to $3,600 per child 6 and under, and up to $3,000 for each child up to age 17. And of course, it expanded who qualified. So when West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin said he wouldn't support the Build Back Better bill, that also killed a provision in that bill that would have extended the expansion through 2022.
No one seems to care about inflation.
UAMS professionals said that the average cost for a COVID patient is $24,200. We asked Baptist Health and they say $62,000. But again, beyond that medical bill, the cost for COVID can be a lot higher if you're able to walk out of a hospital.
The bills, they are incredible. I mean, it was close to $1 million worth of bills just for how sick I was on life support.
69-year-old Narcisa Carranza is finally recovering from COVID-19 after more than a month in a Saskatoon hospital. Her daughter and son-in-law say Carranza feels pressure to leave the hospital. Her medical bill at last count, more than $357,000 and climbing.
The healthcare battle continues in the nation's capital tonight. West Virginia has the second highest number of senior citizens per capita in the nation, and now they want their dental benefits.
West Virginia is the highest rate in the United States for heart attacks and coronary artery disease. It's number 2 in the United States for diabetes. It's number 7 for stroke.
Some in Congress support the dental plan, but worry Medicare cannot afford to pay for the benefits right now.
No one seems to care about inflation.
And where I'm at right now, the inflation that I was concerned about, it's not transitory, it's real, it's harming every West Virginian.
1 year after contracting COVID-19, Andrea Cerisa was faced with something she never imagined: prolonged symptoms and a stack of medical bills.
Help. I had to make the decision to either live or die. I had to make that decision, and so it really wasn't a choice for me.
Afterwards, she says she was billed around $123,000 and showed us her explanation of benefits. She told us much of the last few months has been spent on the phone, trying to see if her insurance could make an exception and help cover the cost.
She's not alone. Last month, Emily Bennett's husband had to be moved to Baptist Health.
Right now, before insurance, he is charged $128,294. So I've received a letter in the mail, and I guess we're waiting on our insurance to take over, and then we'll see what we have to owe.
Paid family leave. It's in the House bill, but Senator Joe Manchin is still not on board. Medicare coverage. Senator Bernie Sanders wants to expand it to dental care and eyeglasses, not just hearing aids.
No one seems to care about inflation right now, but all this is affecting and hurting average people in West Virginia.
Here is the actual distribution of wealth in America. The poorest Americans don't even register. They're down to pocket change. And the middle class is barely distinguishable from the poor. In fact, even the rich between the top 10 and 20 percentile are worse off. Only the top 10% are better off. And how much better off? So much better off that the top 2 to 5% are actually off the chart at this scale. And the top 1%, this guy, well, his stack of money stretches 10 times higher than we can show. Here's his stack of cash, restacked, all by itself. This is the top 1% we've been hearing so much about. So much green in his pockets that I have to give him a whole new column of his own, because he won't fit on my chart. 1% of America has 40% of all the nation's wealth. The bottom 80%, 8 out of every 10 people, or 80 out of these 100, only has 7% between them. And this has only gotten worse in the last 20 to 30 years. So much green in his pockets that I have to give him a whole new column of his own, because he won't fit on my chart. 1% of America has 40% of all the nation's wealth. The bottom 80%, 8 out of every 10 people, or 80 out of these 100, only has 7% between them. And this has only gotten worse in the last 20 to 30 years. While the richest 1% take home almost a quarter of the national income today.
Would you say you're sorry?
Sorry for purchasing, sorry for buying all of this product?
It's part of his ongoing reporting, making sense of financial news.
Perhaps the most unlikely bestseller in America, the English translation of French economist Thomas Piketty's 577-page tome, Capital. His recent Piketty has long been known for demonstrating with colleagues that inequality of wealth has reverted to a lofty level last seen in 19th century Europe. Here he was at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government, recapping the share of U.S. national income going to the top 10%. And according to the very latest data,
in 2012, the share going to the top 10% will be slightly above 50%. It's not clear whether this is a good deal or not for the rest of the population.
Okay, this is a book telling the story of how economic prosperity during the 20th century came from a huge reduction of inequalities. If you look at the past century, what we've seen is an enormous reduction of inequalities that was achieved through education, huge public investment in education, that was achieved through progressive taxation and...
Well, I think, my main advice regarding wealth tax and property taxation would be to start from what exists. The problem is not to create some brand new tax. The problem is more to start from the existing council tax in particular, which, as you know, is based on local property values, and to make it more progressive. So I think what's important is to reduce the council tax and the tax rate for the lower property owners and the lower homes, and this has to be financed by an increase on the higher property value. So
Take SpaceX, for example. According to Real Clear Policy, of SpaceX's total $12 billion in contracts, $5.5 billion comes from NASA and the Air Force. And that's despite the fact a government audit revealed this year that the company, quote, is raising the price it charges NASA to launch cargo into space by roughly 50%. But SpaceX isn't Musk's only project, which appears reliant on taxpayer dollars. His electric car company, Tesla, is thriving thanks to government subsidies designed to encourage environmentally conscious travel. Shoppers wealthy enough to even consider purchasing a Tesla automobile are offered enticing federal tax credits. Investors Business Daily reports that for every Tesla sold, federal taxpayers actually contribute $7,500 in subsidies, with states contributing even more. Overall, the LA Times reported in 2015 that Tesla owners received a total of $284 million in taxpayer funds.
My wife has not been able to book a hair appointment in 4 months. If this goes on any longer, she's gonna have to pull a Nancy Pelosi. Okay, our nanny is having to quarantine for 2 weeks. I mean, she's on the east wing of the house, but still, it's like... Listen, I'm on the course right now. Okay, no, I'm not waiting in line for a COVID test with the public. Gross. Okay, no, just get somebody to come to the house.
An old Europe in which land was wealth, and thus inherited land guaranteed you the life of Riley, or of Jane Austen's Mr. Darcy.
Who is this Mr. Darcy? He's one of the Darcys of Pemberley. Oh, Mr. Darcy of Pemberley. The Pemberley estates alone are worth a clear $10,000 a year.
£10,000 of income, that is, generated by Darcy's land holdings. For centuries, even well into the Industrial Revolution, inherited land, the main wealth or capital of civilization, guaranteed a predictable income, about 4 to 5% of that wealth, year in, year out.
Is this your reply?
Yes, sir.
Are you laughing at me?
Really, Mama, you know as well as I do that Cora's fortune is not Cora's fortune anymore. Thanks to Papa, it is now part of the estate. And the estate is entailed to my heir. That is it. That is all of it.
I, Thurston Howell III, being of sound mind and body...
Not so fast, darling.
Yes, of course. I, Thurston Howell III, being sound mind and body, do hereby bequeath and devise all my holdings in the Transcontinental Railroad to one Gilligan.
Oh, I don't think you should leave the railroad to Gilligan.
Oh, no, but boys love trains, my dear. No, the railroad definitely goes to Gilligan.
But he can't possibly afford it. You said yourself that it loses $1 million a year.
Yes, you're so right. You're absolutely right. I tell you what, leave the diamond mine to Gilligan.
Oh, I thought of Ginger for the diamond mine. She has such a lovely throat.
Yes, you're so right. Much more appropriate for Ginger. Now, I wonder, what are we going to leave the dear, dear, dear professor?
How about that little island in the Pacific?
You mean Australia?
On second thought, we ought to leave him the railroad. He has such a mechanical mind, you know.
Yes, but sometimes he forgets to wind it up. All right, the railroad to the professor, the diamond mine to Ginger. There you are, Ginger, a copy of my will, and to you, your own little diamond mine.
My own diamond mine? I think I'm going to faint.
Very dear, you've delighted us long enough. Let the other young ladies have a turn.
I've been practicing it all week.
This way, together, just over here. Guys, together this way. Turn your back. Together. Oh, he's got it. There you go. Kalula, together. One more time this way. Just together up here. Nice shot. Nice 2 shots. Right here, please.
Are you laughing at me?
Is a wealth tax fair, and how would it work?
Wealth tax is a whole lot fairer than what we have right now. So look at it this way. The problem in America right now with billionaires is that they don't pay taxes the way everybody else does. So we have somebody like Jeff Bezos, who claims that even though he sits on $1 bazillion worth of wealth, he actually only made $83,000 last year. I'm not kidding. And so he pays less in federal income taxes than the average Boston public school teacher. That is a system that is rigged, and the American people have had it up to here with that.
Not long ago, Musk packed his bags and moved to Texas, which, by the way, has no personal income tax, whereas the Golden State imposes the highest level of income tax on its residents. There are plenty of fancy homes in South Texas, a half-hour's drive from Boca Chica, where SpaceX built its rocket facility for Starship. But the second richest person in the world says instead he's chosen to rent a small home from his company, located by the production site, worth a mere $50,000. He reportedly lives in a foldable house in a box like this, according to Teslarati. The windows and walls unfold into a 400-square-foot space, complete with a kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, and living room. They're built by a startup called Boxable, which had no comment about Musk's living situation when I reached out to them.
Objective way to look at this is to say, well, okay, it's okay to have very rich people, people in the middle, people in the bottom, as long as all these groups, with all the mobility between them, are rising more or less at the same speed. Because in the long run, it's okay to have rich, middle, poor, but it must rise more or less at the same speed at the growth rate of the total economy. Now, the problem is that this is not what you see in this rich list. The average wealth at the top has been rising 3 to 4 times faster than the size of the world economy, which I think everybody can see. Even people who really want to defend private property capitalism, they must understand that by definition, this cannot continue forever.
I will be introducing legislation tomorrow, meaning today, to tax the obscene wealth gains billionaires have made during the public health crisis. The senator tweeted a thread explaining his proposal, saying, while over 30 million Americans have seen their $600 a week in unemployment benefits expire, emergency actions taken by the Federal Reserve to prop up the stock market have meant that 467 billionaires saw their wealth go up by over $730 billion since the pandemic began.
Most people in China hadn't even heard about the internet. Realizing that it would change the world and would likely take 5 to 10 years to take off in China, Eric decided to try and find work in the US. When Eric returned to China, he applied for a US visa. During the process, a customs official asked him for an English version of his business card. While Eric handed over a card that listed him as a consultant, the official misunderstood his title as being a part-time contractor and accused Eric of lying on his application. Eric was devastated. Over the next 2 years, he applied 8 more times and was rejected each time. Meanwhile, Eric worked around the clock to build WebEx Meeting Center and managed to learn how to speak English from his colleagues. But in spite of his efforts, he found himself being repeatedly overlooked by others. I saw a tremendous amount of unconscious bias against Eric because he didn't look the part, he didn't sound the part, explained David Knight, a WebEx employee. We put so much stock in how people communicate, we ascribe their eloquence to be their intelligence. Since Eric couldn't control how others viewed him, he decided to focus on what he could manage, his work. I learned 2 things from my father: keep working hard, stay humble, and someday you'll be okay, Eric recalled. Eventually, everyone at WebEx knew of Eric because of his work ethic, humble manner, and intense curiosity about all aspects of the startup's business. And over time, Eric was promoted to engineer manager, senior engineer manager, director, and then senior director. Cisco recognized his loyalty and talent and made him their corporate VP of engineering. Still, Eric found himself being repeatedly overlooked yet again. Almost immediately, Cisco started to dismiss everything that we did, explained Matt Shepard, a former WebEx employee. Eric was dismissed, along with other leadership at WebEx, as being kind of second-rate. While it was obvious that WebEx was now a cog in one of the world's largest tech companies, Eric decided to yet again focus on what he could manage, his work. After walking away from his 6-figure salary at Cisco, he picked up the phone and cold-called venture capitalists to pitch his idea of launching a user-friendly and mobile-ready video conferencing service. VCs told Eric his idea was terrible. After 1 year, Eric finally launched his company under the name Zoom and released its first product, a free HD video conferencing software that allowed up to 15 participants to join a call. In spite of the rave reviews, Zoom was only downloaded an estimated 60,000 times and had less than 20,000 active users since its first release. Meanwhile, the company started to run out of money from hiring a large team of engineers. Eric tried to raise more money from VCs, but neither of them were interested. 60,000 downloads in total was considered nothing, since apps that became a hit in those days were getting downloaded around 100,000 times a day. When COVID-19 spread around the world and forced people to stay home, millions needed a new way to stay in touch with friends and family, and schools, universities, and workplaces had to shift online. Many ended up using Zoom since it was free, easy to use, worked smoothly on a wide variety of devices, and required no membership or account to join a call. Soon after, the then 9-year-old platform quickly grew and became the most downloaded app globally across the App Store and Google Play, breaking a record of 200 million daily participants, a 20-fold increase compared to the year before. Along with the catch-ups, classes, and meetings, people were using Zoom to host parties, romantic dates, and even weddings. Today, Eric, one of a handful of Chinese Americans to lead a major Silicon Valley company, is one of the wealthiest men in the world, and Zoom is worth an estimated $139 billion. Eric admits that while he knew leaving Cisco to build Zoom was a huge risk and he wasn't sure if he could pull it off, he understood that in Silicon Valley, everything starts with some risk.
I mean, how much longer are we supposed to be doing this? The hot bar at Whole Foods is still closed. This whole pandemic has been so stressful. All I want to do is escape and play golf, and now they don't even have a cart girl out here. Yeah, how about you stay 6 feet away from my Porsche? Okay, thank you. They're getting evicted? Listen, I don't have time for this. I got to putt.